Hey, welcome back to Business 101, Introduction to Business. We are continuing on in Module 5 at our look at the topic of management. And in this particular video, as you can tell from the title screen, we're dealing with the topic of the 4 managerial functions. The 4 functions of management. And this is important stuff. This is core stuff to understand what managers do and what they're responsible for. So let's climb right into it. As you can see here from this slide, the textbook will suggest the 4 primary functions, the core functions that managers are responsible for: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling within their organization. And you should know right from the outset, these are the same 4 managerial functions you will find described no matter where you take a course in management. I also teach the Introduction to Management course here at College of Marin, Business 150. Perhaps you'll join me there sometime. And these are the 4 core principles that we look at in that course, in greater detail, of course, than in this course. But if you end up going to a Cal State or a UC or any other business school, any other business program, and take a class or a course on management, these are the 4 managerial functions that they will describe there as well. In fact, these are the same 4 managerial functions we have been talking about, well, since the 1950s. And some folks from time to time have tried to suggest other ways to think about what managers do, but these 4 primary functions endure to this day, the way that we conceptually think about management. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, what we mean is that managers plan. You can see there some of the questions that need to be answered. What do we need to do? How do we get it done best? Managers also need to organize. They need to organize the company, the organization. How do we arrange our resources and activities into a coherent structure? Managers need to lead. How do we guide and motivate our employees to meet our objectives? And managers have to perform control. How do we ensure we are meeting our goals, and how do we get the very best out of our resources? So let's take a look at each of these 4 functions just a little bit in this particular lecture. When we talk about planning, what we are talking about are big concepts like setting goals and creating and executing strategy. Again, answering the sorts of questions like, where are we going? Where do we want to go? Based on who we are as an organization, how will we best be able to maintain our place in the market and grow our market share? All of this is a function of planning, and planning is one of the 4 core managerial functions, as you can see here. Now, the second core function, organizing, has to do with, well, an organization has all of these resources. All sorts of different resources, from physical resources, financial resources, human resources, informational resources. And you can see that sort of represented in this very complex diagram on this slide, right? It's just an example. This particular company has all these departments, and that's not even all the departments they have, probably. Well, how do you structure your organization in such a way that you get the very best from each of those resource classes? How do you put them in departments? How do you have the departments report to each other? How do you set up reporting authorities? How do you do those kinds of things so that in an orderly, repeatable way, that all those resources can yield the very best performance to accomplish the stated goals? That is a part of management, and it's a function of management organization. Third, when we talk about leading and leadership, what we're really talking about is the application of management on one class of organizational resource, and those are human resources. People are the hardest resource class to manage, and yet they're the only resource class that can really potentially give you exponentially better performance than any of your competitors in the marketplace. It's your people, right? It's your people who will innovate. It's your people who will create. It's your people who have the opportunity, at least the potential opportunity, to make you better than anyone else out there. And so the managerial task of leading is all about motivating and compelling and uniting, getting the very high performance, getting the very best from your people. That in itself is worthy of an entire class, and indeed, I actually teach that class also from time to time here at College of Marin, Business 134, which is Human Behavior in Business. I also teach this at the graduate level at other universities. Leadership is a topic unto itself, perhaps one of the most, or perhaps the most important of the 4 managerial functions in today's marketplace. Finally, the last category, the 4th managerial function, is control. And of course, having just talked about leadership, control doesn't seem all that exciting, does it, right? Control, what is that all about, right? Well, control is all about making sure that you are actually delivering consistent quality to your consumers. You ever bought something where the quality just wasn't quite there? Maybe it was an automobile, maybe it was a meal, maybe it was a piece of clothing, and you regretted buying that thing, right? You wish you had spent maybe a little more money and bought something with much higher quality that would last longer, that would deliver the goods. Well, it's a managerial function to make sure that quality is delivered, whether you're talking about products or services, whatever it is that you're producing, right? It's also about minimizing costs and expenses and about continually improving your product. All of those things become part of what it means to exercise managerial control. Now, briefly, the way that these management functions relate to each other, as you can see here, the 4 of them work simultaneously and complementary, and they work together. And indeed, in a manager and in a manager's role and in a manager's mind, that's exactly what has to happen. In other words, if you are an excellent manager, you are constantly thinking along all 4 of these functions. How is it that we can set our goals and perform and execute strategy in such a way to maximize our opportunity in the marketplace? What does it mean to set up our organization and the structure and framework in such a way that it optimizes how we use our resources and get the most out of them? How do we do a better job of getting even better performance from our people and helping our people thrive in the workplace? And finally, how do we make sure that not only are we delivering consistent quality now, but we are improving our processes, we're improving the way we do things. Indeed, we are constantly improving the quality and the consistency of our products and services to delight our customers and keep them loyal to us. All of these are part of the managerial function, this basket of 4 primary functions that we are constantly working through as leaders and managers. So I hope that helps in understanding sort of how managers go about their career, what purposes they serve in the organization. More on this, of course, in the textbook. We'll catch you in the next lecture.